Lesson 16, Manipura Chakra. Mentioned many times already, because it is an important chakra that is very much determining our fate. Our fate. The meaning of Manipura is the city of jewels, and the reason why it is called that is because Manipura Chakra is the only chakra that's always brimming with energy. And the function of Manipura Chakra is like a nuclear power plant. It's the producer of energy that is fueling the other chakras, that is fueling all functioning of the physical body, the mental body. So Manipura Chakra is kind of in the center of the whole energy system. The element of this chakra, of course you know already, is fire. We have introduced fire poses. Fire is something that needs to be dealt with in a sensible way. We say should not be petrified, but approached in a controlled, calm way, which we try to introduce with the way that we do those exercises, those demanding exercises. So subtle element, the Tamatra, is fire. The subtle vehicle of action is movement, any kind of movement. Yeah, any kind of movement. The subtle organ of perception, the Jnanendriya, is sight, eyesight. The subtle energy related here is simply prana, or we call it organic prana. Organic prana or prana because it stands at the basis of the other pranas. Apana prana, samana prana, their origin or their foundation is the prana, the generic prana from Manipura Chakra. The corresponding color is yellow, and it also has a mantra which is Ram. Now, in the second paragraph, after the first sentence, you see that I wrote there that Manipura is like dungeon, the Korean concept of dungeon. In Japan it's called hara, and in Chinese it's tanjen. It's very much like the Korean word. But that's not correct. I wrote this more than 20 years ago, 24 years ago, and have come to other conclusions because practicing Hapkido, meeting with Buddhist monks and other spiritual practice people like Sunmudo, those Zen practices, I found that when talking about the concept of Danjan, people always point to something else. So in yoga we say Manipura Chakra. But when you talk with Buddhist monks, some will point to their Manipura Chakra, some will point to their navel, and some will point to their lower belly. So which is it? Which is it? It's all three of them. In yoga, they don't particularly mention a body like Danjan or Hara, but there is the concept of what they call gastric fire, which we will elaborate on when we read about it in the Hatha Yoga Pratipika, where it is mentioned many times. But this is what happens with people who start on the path of yoga practice, but it also happens with people who practice martial arts or Tai Chi or Sun Mudo, you know, all those forms of movement designed to lead to spirituality. But basically, people who are relatively physically healthy, who exercise fairly regularly, they have a phenomenon going on that is called danjan. It is the fire in the belly. It is not Manipura Chakra, but Manipura Chakra is part of it. What happens to people who have this vital energy, because they are healthy, is the following phenomenon. You have Muladhara Chakra, the vital energy of which is Apana Prana, which is energy that expands and rises up. If that is strong enough, the energy Apana Prana merges with the Samana Prana of Svadhisthana Chakra. Next, those two energies together, vital as they are, vital energy, will continue to expand and rise, which then leads to the phenomenon that we call danjan, or the gastric fire. It is the three chakras together being one big healthy ball of energy. If you have this condition, you have a very good digestion. Pay attention. Traditional doctors, our general physician in Amsterdam, who was an older generation doctor from the countryside, if you visit your doctor, the first question is not what's wrong with you, the first question is how is your stool? You understand what that means? How is your stool? How is your stool? How is your poo? How is your poo? Because that tells everything about your energy household. If you are sick, if you have any kind of physical, medical problem, the doctor wants to know if it is because you are lacking energy, or if that's not the case, he should try to find the cause somewhere else. So if your stool is not good, you're obstipated, or you have diarrhea, or very unregular, the doctor knows that this energy body is poor, and it leads to all kinds of possible diseases. Small, but eventually, with time passing, becoming bigger. But if there is this big ball of energy, not only is your stool very good, your poo is dry and compact, smells less than other unhealthy poo, and you're very regular. You go to the toilet to pass stool every day, almost always at the same time, sometimes even 2 or 3 times. Healthy digestion is an indication of overall health. And that is why in Buddhism and also in traditional medicine and the older generations of also Western medical doctors, based on this understanding, what was I going to say? It is an indication of overall good health. And that is the reason why there is so much emphasis by spiritual people and by medical people. For medical people it's obvious, it's about the overall health. For spiritual people, this phenomenon fuels the spiritual development. Because it doesn't stop here, this energy continues to expand and rise, breaks through the glass barrier of the diaphragm, opens the heart, opens the throat, the mental body, intellect is awakened, and in the end, the spiritual body, the crown chakra, is awakened. And for that, this phenomenon is responsible. That's why Buddhists always talk about their belly, not about their head or their crown chakra. They always talk about their belly. So it's important to know this, to understand this. The developmental stage, you probably understand, is the next 7 years, 15 to 21. It is the time of adolescence, puberty. It is when people, young people in that stage of development become very rebellious. They start to resist their parents, they start to resist authority, teachers, and what have you. But they also will start manifesting their ambition. And very often we canalize that energy that can be very destructive through sports. Although in Korea the situation is a little bit different, in Europe, much of the sports activities is subsidized. So when I was a child, I could join a club, a sports club of any kind, for just about 80 guilders a year, not per month, a year. And it is done mostly by volunteers, older people who have a normal job, and in the evening they come to the swimming pool or the athletic field or wherever it is that you became a member of, very cheap, so that young people can join without having the burden of a high tuition fee. And the reason for that is, of course, that it's very healthy for young people, especially in this age bracket, to move, to exercise, to sweat, to push, to win, to conquer, because these are all qualities that come with the development of Manipura chakra, and when not canalized or controlled, it can lead to criminal behavior, it can lead to bullying, aggression among other kids, etc. So movement here is very important. Movement is always important for the health of Manipura chakra. Walking, firm walking, any kind of movement, cycling, yoga, of course, is the way to canalize energy for always. Movement overall is really important for the health of this chakra. And this chakra, among all chakras, is very important because it provides the whole body, including all the other chakras, with energy. So we have a problem here. Many advanced yogis say exercise is not good for you, stick to yoga. I don't agree with that. Because Manipura chakra is important and yoga alone is not enough. It can control the energy in Manipura chakra, but it's not a tool to generate lots of that healthy energy in Manipura chakra. Unless, of course, you practice some hard form of yoga like Ashtanga, Vinyasa, those power yoga forms that you have also. For me, yoga is yoga, it's sattvic. So when I do yoga, I do it the way that they have been doing it for thousands of years. I don't like the modern kinds of yoga. I've tried, it doesn't feel good. But I do walk and I do ride a bicycle because I need that. I feel the need for that. And if you feel the need for that, you just have to give in to that. There's no need to be radical because we are yogis that everything else is not good. That's just not how it works. Ambition, the will to conquer, readiness to fight, combativeness is all responsibility, or located in Manipura Chakra. It is the age of rebellion, the age of pursuing sports, pursuing victory. It's also the age of military service. Young people especially in this age bracket, are most fit basically to be sent into battle, because they won't question authority. They will simply react and act upon their hormones and use their aggression to fight, to win battles. Older people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, very difficult to send into raw battle, into war activity, simply because they will question. They will question the logic of it, they will question the violence that comes with it, they will question the misery and the suffering that they are going to inflict upon other people, sometimes innocent. So very difficult, something that simply will not occur with people in this age bracket. You can also see, for example, when there are protests. You have seen some of those huge protests in the United States. For example, in the past 2 years or so, where you see large numbers of people protesting peacefully. But you also see riots and looting. Now, if you look at it through our lens, what you see is the rioters and the looters are in this age bracket. Young people. While the peaceful protesters are all older than that. So it's not a matter of being bad or good, if you look at it from our point of view. It's simply a developmental stage that people are in. You see the same in the Middle East, where you have the riots. It's a little bit quiet these days, but every time there is a flare-up in the Palestinian territories, where they protest the Israeli authorities. And those protests are often accompanied by rioting, throwing stones, fire bombs, and what have you. And it's the older people again that protest peacefully, and it is the mainly boys in this age bracket that stand ready with stones and Molotov cocktails. So rationally, it's simply a developmental stage. And we, parents, teachers, and the government try to do what they can to canalize that energy in young people by subsidized sports activities, but also military service planned around that age, so that it can be used constructively. For us, what is important is that every action, every reaction, every impulse originates in Manipura Chakra. That means when we are confronted with situations or people in situations, and we end up in conflict, the origin is always in Manipura Chakra. When you are confronted with a sudden situation and you explode in anger, the anger triggers a reaction in you that you later regret, because it led to conflict, because it led to a fight, physically or verbally, and it's always destructive. So this is why it's so important that with Manipura Chakra, we learn to approach it in a calm and controlled manner. And we just started doing that with the fire poses, with Uttva Prasarita Padasana and the two boat poses, and ultimately with Mayurasana. What you do is you test yourself in these poses. You subject yourself to the pressure, the physical discomfort that it causes. You undergo it consciously, and you decide not to go along with the stress that comes out of it, making you want to react in a certain way. You try to stay calm and controlled, keep breathing deep and calm, and that is how you integrate it into your daily life and learn to control reactions and impulses. In a state of sattva, the chakra manifests as the stomach, and the vehicle of observation are the eyes. People who have relative sattva in the chakra generally have sharp eyes. In rajas, the chakra manifests as the pancreas, and the vehicle of motion is the legs or propulsion, which means it's not just the legs, it's basically any kind of movement. In tamas, the chakra manifests as the vertebra behind the stomach, the manifestation of energy into matter, and the subtle element is fire. Person who is in control of this chakra keeps his cool under serious distressful circumstances and has sharp eyesight. Have you ever seen the series, what's it called again? It plays in the 70s. It's a bunch of young kids from high school, and the theme is rock and roll. And one of the main characters is the Fawns. Sounds familiar? Happy Days, that is the name of the series. Happy Days. The Fawns is a cool rocker who is not disturbed by anything. So my oldest brother is like that. You would think that that is a play, that it is a play act. But people who are really in control of Manipura chakra, they really are cool. The Fawns is a typical example of that. While other people panic, he stays cool, controls everything, and will take measures to solve whatever situation presents itself. This is incredibly valuable because when disasters occur, when fire erupts in a cinema or a nightclub, always many people die. But most people who die in such events do not die because of fire. It's actually being trampled by people who panic that causes most of the deaths and injuries. Meaning people who are not in control of Manipura chakra. Confronted with the stressful situation of the fire erupting, they react in an impulse very violently. And they just become totally blind, start running around like crazy, often in the wrong direction, not towards the closest exit, and anybody in their way will be trampled. And tragically, many people die in such cases. If people would just stay calm and overlook the situation and see where the emergency exit is, and then just calmly go there, that would save a lot of people's lives, a lot of injuries also. You develop the ability to be stress resistant, panic resistant. Every yoga practitioner to some extent becomes panic resistant. You may have already noticed that in certain circumstances, while the people around you freak out, you stay calm and you maintain oversight. You see, the third paragraph on page 2, there is this illustration from the Roman Empire, from the time of the Roman Empire. It says festina lente. Festina lente is a funny expression that seems a total contradiction that is impossible. Festina lente means hurry slowly. How do you do that, hurry slowly? Stay calm. Don't stress. If things need to be done, just do them while remaining calm and organized. And the moment that you lose it, the moment that you become stressed or panic, everything messes up in the process. So festina lente means to keep a playful attitude towards whatever it is that you are engaging in, and especially when things become stressful. Then we have two satellite chakras, secondary chakras of Manipura chakra, which are the liver and the spleen, both fire organs. The liver, the spleen, the gallbladder, everything related to, all the organs related to digestion we consider fire organs. The liver and the spleen are secondary chakras of Manipura chakra, as the liver is responsible for getting rid of excess calories, excess energy. And it sounds a little bit weird, but in a practical sense, you can experience the activity of the liver emitting excess energy when you drink too much. People who drink too much tend to wake up in the middle of the night. Usually, actually, it is early in the morning, between 4 and 5, awakening in a cold sweat. Your whole body is wet with sweat. That is an indication of the liver getting rid of that heat. Alcohol is called fire water for a reason. It's excess heat. The spleen does the opposite. The spleen, when we have a lack of energy, tries to provide the body with additional sources of energy. And you can notice that in a practical sense when you, for example, eat, when you have a meal, and then don't allow the meal to digest, but you become active. You start exercising or being busy with something, and you feel that pinch in your spleen. When you feel that pinch, it is your spleen providing you with extra energy, because digestion is a major activity, and you are designed to perform one major activity at a time. If you engage in 2 or more major activities, you have a lack of energy. There is not sufficient amounts of energy to deal with all those activities. The liver, because of its heat emission, is called Surya chakra, the sun chakra, while the spleen, the opposite, is called Chandra chakra, the moon chakra. Yeah, that's it. I have shared all elements of this chakra with you that are important. You have any questions about Manipura chakra? Remember this then. Ajna chakra is responsible for all energy, and therefore the health of, did I say Ajna chakra? Manipura chakra is responsible for the health of all energy, for the functioning of all body parts, organs, and what have you. Movement is responsible for the health of Manipura chakra, so we need to move, like it or not. Try to make that a regular part of your daily life. Very important also to remember further down the road is that any action, reaction, impulse is originating in Manipura chakra, and therefore it is important to learn to control Manipura chakra. It starts with the fire exercises as we know them, but in the end it is a mental exercise. Manipura chakra is the location of the physical will. The physical will functioning on its own leads to conflict, disharmony. Ajna chakra, however, is a location of the mental will. And an important aspect of yoga practice, but also martial arts, is to strengthen the will, but to introduce mental will to support the physical will. And that is where control, that is where we learn to control. Manipura chakra, the impulses, the reactions from daily life situations. Okay? Next time when you're finding yourself in a conflict where you did something that you later regret or said something that you later regret, remember the origin is in Manipura chakra. It is often ego related also that we act or react in certain ways that later we regret because it leads to conflict. Sometimes it destroys relationships in ways that are irreparable. So it's crucial that you understand about how this works. Okay? Questions? Let's have a short break.